Alright, how's everybody doing? I made a video, and in it, one of my other videos, I said why you should invest in potash and why it is potentially a better hedge against inflation than silver and gold. Well, maybe not gold, but definitely silver. Um, so, yeah, we're going to discuss that today. I'm going to pull up ChatGPT, and this is how I invest, when I got a question, when I got a hunch, I throw it through the AI. I'm not saying AI is great. I'm not saying but it's better than, it's smarter than me. I know that. Fucking know that. Everyone like says, you bring up AI these days, they're like, well, it hallucinates all the time. It's fucking not as good as it says it is. Yeah, well, it's smarter than you fucking drunk bastard. Like, like you can't even do calculus. You barely graduated high school. I do trust the fucking AI on these things more than you. Anyway, um, well, potash. So this is what the AI told me, and well, we'll pull up the well simple. I'll show you guys how much I have with. So the company I invest in is called Nutrien, NTR. You guys can check out the ticker. I'm gonna pull it up here. Um, and they do potash, nitrogen, a lot of fertilizer. They're based in Canada. They're the world's largest potash producer. So you're not going to get anyone bigger than these guys. Um, a good thing about potash too right now is it's protected. Um, it's not like getting tariffed because America doesn't make any of its own potash because they're retarded, and they also don't make their fucking aluminum because they're retarded, and so Canada ends up sending them like all their potash and stuff. So you don't have to really worry too much about the tariffs or anything. I don't have. I just started positioning these guys very recently, so I don't have as much money as I want to. But this is the 5-year chart on them. They peaked up 2022 at 141, and that is like when inflation was really ripping. You know what I mean? So like that's when COVID was going really hard. The money printer was just fucking going crazy. And now let's read what the AI says. So, what is NTR? Nutrien is a Canadian fertilizer company, largest producer of potash, plus big in nitrogen and phosphate. Their profits are tied to agricultural demand and global food prices. How it behaves in inflationary times. Food prices rise with inflation. Farmers still need fertilizer to grow crops, often even more so when prices are high. That means NTR can benefit directly from higher crop and food prices, which tend to outpace general inflation. Geopolitical tailwinds. Russia and Belarus supply a lot of potash. Sanctions, supply disruptions, or war tend to push prices up, which benefits Nutrien. Dividends and cash flow. NTR pays a dividend, which means you get cash while you wait, unlike silver, which just sits there. I do like silver. It doesn't just sit there, though. You can pick it up and look at it, and it's shiny. Yeah. Silver. Pros, it's a hard asset, no counterparty risk, and historically holds value during inflation. If inflation gets really bad and people lose faith in fiat, silver benefits. Cons, it can be extremely volatile. Silver often underperforms when inflation is moderate, but shines in extreme monetary crises. It doesn't generate income like NTR. And that being said, I wouldn't sniff at that. There is like fucking $50 trillion, probably more, $50 trillion of quantitative easing that's been fucking injected into the economy. Um, America is on its way to a sovereign debt crisis or sovereign currency crisis. It is going to happen. It is a matter of time, unless something drastic changes. And the signs just aren't there. The wars aren't going to stop. The printing is not going to stop. Um, it's sick. And, I don't, some people say America's different. I think it's going to follow the same cycle that every empire does. And so too will China. and so too will China. And they might hit it. They might get to the point quicker than America. Who knows? Really, don't know. But something's gonna happen. So don't put your nose up to an extreme monetary crisis because I think it's coming. That's why I'm buying it. Silver's at like a 15-year high, just pushed over 40 USD the other day. So if you asked like a silver bug, if you told a silver bug that like 3, 4, or 5 years ago, they'd be like, "What?" So, which is a better hedge? If you're looking for a classic inflation hedge against currency debasement, silver has the edge. It's money outside the system, which is true. Yeah, that's true. If you want a productive hedge that grows with food inflation and pays dividends, NTR could be stronger in most inflationary scenarios, especially the sticky inflation we've been seeing in food and energy. They actually complement each other well. NTR gives you income plus exposure to rising input costs. Silver gives you crisis insurance in the financial system if the financial system itself wobbles. NTR is a real asset tied to food production, while silver is money that can't be printed. Um, and it's asking us, do we want to show you how NTR stock prices historically move compared to inflation and silver? Yeah, let's ask. See now we're getting the fun stuff. Here's the current pricing snapshot to help us compare. Oh, that's too much. So let's see what it says. As of late August 2025, Nutrien is trading around 57 to 58, roughly USD 58.60. CAD 57.58. Okay. Something's wrong there because I think it's trading a little bit higher, but either way. Historical context, all-time high around USD 102 in April 2022. 52-week range, low 47, 65. So 31% year over year, inflation hedge. So final thoughts. Nutrien offers a more consistent and productive hedge. It pays dividends, benefits from food price inflation and supply side dynamics, and has analyst backing for further upside. Silver is best reserved as a complementary crisis hedge, useful in severe currency crisis or hyperinflation, but too volatile for reliable performance and moderate inflation. So yeah, you know, I think that kind of settles it. Potash is a really good way to protect yourself against inflation. So check it out. This isn't investment advice or anything. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Um, and yeah, I like Nutrien. I like potash. I think it's going to be needed more and more in the future because especially you look outside. This summer has been dry, really fucking dry, and potash. Let's look at what potash can do. I'm going to use the dictate option just because I'm tired of typing. So, what does potash actually do? Why do people need it so bad? And how does it benefit people during times of environmental trouble like drought? Yeah, sorry. Dictate sucks. So what potash actually is? Potash equals potassium salts, usually potassium chloride. It's one of the three main nutrients that crops need. The other two are nitrogen and phosphorus. Farmers can't replace it with anything else. Without potash, crops are weaker, smaller, less resistant to disease or climate stress. Why people need it so badly. Potash is essential for global agriculture. If fertilizer prices spike or supply is disrupted, sanctions on Russia, Belarus, food prices rise. No potash, no yield. Soil naturally loses potassium over time when crops pulled out without replenishing through fertilizer, yields collapse. Russia and Belarus control about 35 to 40% of global exports. When they're cut off, the world looks to Canada to fill the gap. How potash helps during environmental troubles like drought. Water efficiency. Potassium helps plants use water more effectively in drought conditions. Crops with enough potash can handle stress and survive longer with less water. Stronger plants. Potash improves root growth, disease resistance, and overall plant health. That means better yields, even in tough conditions. Food stability. In years of environmental stress, countries stockpile fertilizer to protect their harvest, making demand for potash especially strong. It's like plant armor. Okay. Yeah. Well, check it out, guys. Seriously. I think potash is a good way to protect yourself. Um, because these cocksuckers are going to keep printing money. They're going to keep destroying the economy. They're going to keep making your life harder. They fucking hate you. They hate you. They see you as a bug. And that's what you fucking are to them. You're a fucking number. They will shit on you. They will rip your head off and shit down your neck. They could give a fuck about you.